The World Inside by Robert Silverberg is top five best science fiction books I have ever read in my life. This is an easy 5-star read. Before I get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also consider becoming a patron. Link is in the description. Thank you for your support. This book, I've had this on my TBR for a while now, and it's a short book. It's only about 170 so pages, mass paperback edition. And the premise of this was just sick. The pacing, the execution. Silverberg really did his thing. And I have a few Silverberg books on my digital TBR. And I think I've got some Silverberg behind me. Um, let's have a look here. What do I have? A Time of Changes. I have part of the SF Masterworks collection. So yeah, I do have a lot of Silverberg. I definitely like his writing. This was my first ever book by him, and so fantastic. Anyway, this is a science fiction book that I believe was released in the 1970s. I think 1970 itself, and 1970s science fiction is fast becoming my favorite decade of science fiction. Honestly, just between The World Inside, Where Late the Sweet Bird Sang, just 1970s. I'm loving it. But what is this book about? This book is crazy. So the year is 2381, so 2381, and Earth's population is 75 billion. And so how have we been able to sustain such population growth is that instead of expanding outwards, we've extended and expanded upwards. And so and for the most of the book, we are in this mega high rise tower block. And in the particular one we're in, it has over 800,000 people. And it is basically an all in one sort of life. There's no need for people to go outside. They are born inside these mega tower blocks. They work inside these tower blocks. They have families. They reproduce. They get educated. All their entertainment is in the tower blocks. And what I love about this book is that we follow multiple characters. Each chapter is a new character, and we see just how we see life in the tower block through their POVs, but there's also overlap, and we have some of the characters are friends, some of the characters are in prominent positions and know about other characters, so there is some crossover with some characters, but primarily we see them in their designated POV chapter. One of the things about how the society works and how the population grew so to be 75 billion. Currently in 2025 I believe it's like 9 billion, right? How the population grew is that the people are encouraged to have sex literally just freely, with an asterisk. Basically, you actually can't deny anyone's sex in this book, and that's quite something. Um, there's a lot of things around this book around being fertile and wanting children, and also overcoming stress so that you don't become sterile. There's a lot of things around being sterile. Oh, stress will make you sterile. Ambition will make you sterile. Worrying will make you sterile. It's quite something. I'm going to share two quotes that relate to this. The first one is avoidance of frustration, you see, is the primary rule of society such as ours, where even minor frictions can lead to uncontrollable escalations of disharmony. So, we can see that they are trying to make sure that people get along as much as they can, and that there's no friction. It's quite something. It was a very cool world to be in. It's a bit of a horny book, and I I liked it mainly because one, it was a horny book, but two, it kind of reminded me of the matriarchal and matrilineal societies I've been reading about in books such as female autonomy and male dominance, and um, societies of peace, and just other anthropological books that I've read this year that when I've read them, they've talked about societies where you have like concepts such as Roman husbands, where the wife and the husband don't live together, and like men basically just sneak in to the wife's house at night or whatever. And it's mainly, he doesn't really take care of his children in that society. He takes care of his sister's children alongside her. So it was quite weird. And this book, that was one of the great things about this book, is that it it felt like some sort of like weird sci-fi anthropological study. Like I thought it was pretty cool. There's this quote too. At night, it is quite proper to enter other homes. We exchange partners in this way all the time. And so in the society, literally, men leave their houses during the nighttime, and you know they kind of roam around with some restrictions. So it's not like you can just roam around the whole tower block. There there are class sections of the tower block. For example, the administration and leadership are at the top, and you've got the lower class more towards the bottom, and they're all called different names like Shanghai, Paris, London, Prague. So they're all named after, cities that we know, but they cover, I guess several tens of thousands, maybe even hundred thousands of people per block, right? And again, if you're like a scholar or a researcher or something like that, the more important you are, again, it's kind of like how society is today. You know, the more prestigious the job role seems to be, the more power it tends to have, the higher up you are in said society. And I just love the rules around, can you can't really kind of be, someone at the working class, on, for example, the 10,000th floor and go all the way up to the top and sleep with like, the leadership's wife. Like you're kind of, there are kind of social rules, there are taboos. You can't romantically steal anyone's wife, for example. It's purely about sex and being satisfied. So the rules in this are just absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It was very cool to read about. There are there's kind of, weird terminology. Well, not kind of weird, but like terminology that for certain things like slang. For example, slot was mentioned a lot, and that's now I think that was the term for vagina. Top equals sex or refers to missionary, and you got night walkers. Like I said, night walkers are, the men who go around at night to any, or relatively any, apartment, and then sleep with anyone that they like. And so, and again, no one can deny sex to anyone as well. There are some, everyone accepts this, but the characters we follow all have certain, I guess, friction with the rules, whether it be, we had a certain character who she wasn't pregnant, she had no children, and so she was kind of seen as bottom of the bottom, her and her husband, because they hadn't yet had children, and because they hadn't had children, they hadn't been given their own apartment. They're still living in communal living with everyone else. Um, Another thing that's kind of, I guess, a tad perverted, that you kind of have to sort of age up some of the characters, is that in this society, the pairing off and having of children happens at a very young age, like 12, 13 years old. You really can have to age up the characters. They actually don't seem, they all read like adults as well, which is something I just realized. So Silverberg, it does do that. There are some holes with a bit of the world building when you think about it. Some people have asked, when I've read reviews about it, some people have seen like, if anyone can go anywhere, then why have marriage? That isn't really fleshed out. Everyone is doing it raw. So it's like, how, in terms of paternity, how does that work out? Because having more and more children seems to be the primary goal, and it's the high. It's seen as like the highest order within the society in this book. So again, some things that weren't explained that do leave some room for one to wonder how this society would really go. But regardless, it was a 5-star read. It was brilliant, beautifully paced. The challenges each of the characters face is just absolutely fantastic as well. They all have certain gripes with themselves, their couples, the society, the rules, the world they're living in, the world that's been left behind. And so it is a fantastic read. I would 100% recommend getting yourself a copy of this. Anyway, guys, if you've read this, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, consider becoming a Patreon. Link is in the description. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.